What's up, everybody? It's Tony from APM Scootering. So I'm working on a 19 Indian Scout 60, and what you're looking at is the turn signal. So they're bulky and big, but what if I could make it go from this to this and give you running lights? Let me show you here. Kind of bright because they're LEDs, and give you turn signals. No rapid flash. Back to the running lights. So that or this. Stick around, I'm going to show you how to do this. Thanks a lot. Alright, what's up? So I'm back, 2019 Indian Scout. Let me pan over here and by myself. What we're doing is replacing the turn signals, the big bulky ones I showed you earlier in the opening, with LEDs and running lights. Sorry about the noise. I don't know why I'm having so much traffic by my house today, but anyways, so a couple things about the Scout 60. These here, I'm going to show you. This is your turn signal harness. This obviously is your headlight. When you pull your headlight out, there's all kinds of wiring. You got your headlight wiring, and your turn signals come up here, and they're labeled, right? Left and right. Now, I already did the left one, so what the video is going to show you how to do the right one. And basically, the problem with the Scouts is when you have a typical motorcycle on your turn signal wire, all right, you normally have what would be 2 ground wires going into the actual signal itself. Then when you flip the blinker on, the flasher, you're going to get a 12-volt pulse, and that's going to pulse 12 volts to the trigger wire in the light, which is going to give you your amber turn signals. So it's like ground, pulse, 12 volts, pulse, 12 volts, pulse, 12 volts, and that's your flashing. Well, like cars, which is what I actually do for a living, the newer vehicles are coming with what they call CAN bus systems. So controller area network, or basically small modules throughout the vehicle that can assemble a lot of information from the vehicle and transfer it to another module, or to an ECM or an ECU. And in this case, what Indian did was on these 2 wires, and I'm sorry I don't have my test light hooked up, but I assure you what I'm telling you is accurate. There's 2 12-volt wires. Okay, so the common person would be like, well, 2 12-volt wires. So what it is it's coming out of the ECU or ECM 12 volts, right? So obviously you're always going to have a constant 12 volts. So on the factory flasher, I don't know where I put it, you have actually a red and a black that plugs into this little harness right here. And what happens is the ECU or ECM on the bike will send a ground through one of the wires every time the signal flashes. So essentially it's what they would call reverse polarity. Rather than a ground and then a 12-volt pulse to the trigger wire or the flasher, it is sending a ground. So every couple seconds a ground will flash on this black wire here, and it'll light up the factory or OEM turn signal. And then it'll go back to 12 volts, then it'll go back to ground, 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 until you flip your switch off or it turns off. Then this black wire again becomes 12 volts. Okay? So, I actually can't take 100% credit for this because I actually saw the relay diagram on the Indian forum and it got me thinking, well, let me take a look. And I looked at the relay and the schematic, and it absolutely made 100% sense. So what's different about this aftermarket light? It's actually Kuryakyn, however you say it, by Kellermann, a German company. And what it has is it has a halo, right? So traditionally the Scout 60 doesn't have a front running light. It just has that big amber turn signal that only turns on when you hit the flasher. Well, besides it being horribly huge and floppy, when it's mounted on a piece of rubber, you know, I wanted running lights and a turn signal, LEDs, because I actually have the Indian LED headlight that I bought separately to replace the halogen one. Indian makes their own, and I'm going to be doing the tail lights. Sorry, we got a lot of bikers around here. So what that does is, I'm going to show you, this is the actual wire harness that I brought up from my new light on the right hand side. So what you have is you have the common wiring, right? You have a ground, the black wire here. You have your 12 volt signal wire, and you have this gray wire with white dots. So the gray wire with white dots is actually the park light or running light. Okay? So it's a 3-wire hookup. There's the factory, right? 2-wire. And just so you know, what I did was I actually clipped the factory connector off, and I'm using it. Now, I'm going to get to what this is right here then. This is actually not factory. This is actually another piece from Kuryakyn that I just purchased from them. It's actually it's not a load resistor, it's actually a power filter. And I will tell you that when I was testing the wires, I don't know if you can see this, but there is a blue and a brown and red, I think it is. Or blue and a brown. The other side's brown and red. And when you test the 12 volt constant signal, it actually does vary. It jumps around a little bit. Now, I don't know if that's from the bike or what, but this is supposed to smooth out the voltage. It doesn't put a load on anything. I tested it. It does not put a load on anything. So you're not supposed to use load resistors on these. And the reason is there is no typical flasher on the Indian. It actually comes out of the ECU. So it's honestly, it's like a car. It's much like a CAN bus car. But that being said, it's still got a positive and a ground. And you might be saying, well, these are both 12 volts, right? But in the headlight, there is this, and it's a solid black wire. Well, that's actually a ground, right? I referenced the wire to chassis. It is a ground, and I'll explain to you what this is as I get through to the install. But you have a ground here, and then you have the Indian headlight, the LED. There is a brown and pink, and what that is that's actually a ignition. So what that does is, when you put the Indian headlight in, the LED headlight, this will plug into the loose, there's like a loose brown wire that's hanging in there, and that actually is a connection for the running light on the headlight. because this is the headlight connector here. That powers up the actual headlight itself. This, which is like a brown wire, powers up the LED halo or running light, whatever you want to call it. So with that being in the headlight, it actually makes it a little easier to do this. Now, since I already did the left side, I'll show you what this is. This is actually a micro relay, and it's from Directed Electronics, and the part number is 8616, and it's pre-wired, and what that means is it's got pigtails already coming off of it. It does not come apart like a single pole double throw relay, which is one of the larger automotive ones. Okay, so I'll get into quickly to a schematic of what a relay is, and I don't want to waste a ton of time on it because it can get complicated, but a relay is basically just a magnetic switch, right? You have a coil inside it, and in order for the relay to activate, it needs two things: ground and power. Okay? So basically what you do, or what you're using this relay for, is it is coming off of, now you can see I have one done here. It is actually coming off and being connected to the headlights, the actual turn signal lights, two 12-volt wires. Okay? One is going to the solid 12 volts and one is going to the negative bus flasher. In other words, when you flip the signal on, it goes to ground. Well, when that goes to ground, this can open up. And when it does, it can trigger the other wires on it. So what that'll essentially do is you're reversing the polarity, and you're flashing. This will click when it flashes. Right? You can't, obviously you're not going to hear it, it's in the headlight bucket, but it'll flash, it'll click, and it'll flash. So let me show you real quick here what that does. See if I can get you on the light there. Yeah, I apologize again, you're gonna have to listen close because I got a lot of vehicles driving around here. So that's, I actually have a one of the dog tags on my bike, so I don't need a key. Alright, so you see the halo, right? So the halo is just hooked up via 12 volts, which is the ignition, and a ground, which it's attached to loosely right now, to the ground that I found in the bike, the spare ground. Then when I flip the signal on, I don't know if you can hear it, but you should be able to. This is clicking, because the relay's opening and closing. Right? Now when I turn the signal off, boom, got your running lights back. Yeah, there's a slight delay. You know, am I voiding any factory warranty? I doubt it, because I made it pretty much plug and play. So it is what it is. It's my bike, so you know, whatever. But I will tell you, if you are going to do this, you do it at your own risk. I can't take any responsibility for it, obviously. I'll give you the part numbers, and let me get that part number for the Kuryakyn filters. It's actually pretty cool. I got it directly from them. I just happened to stumble upon it the other day. It's this little part right here. Okay. So just sit back. I'll try not to make it too awfully long. I'll probably do this in parts because it can get kind of boring, I guess. Some of my prior videos can go pretty long. So we'll get to it here. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start to wire the relay up, and let me grab the relay real quick. Show you here. So I don't know if that's auto adjusting, I hope. Right, so there it is, just a little relay. And this part's kind of simple because you have your coils, which happen to be red and black, right? So when doing that, your coils are 85 and 86, right? And then what that does is opens up when there's power, and 87 is your normally open of the relay. And I know some people are going to be like, ugh, I have no idea what this means. It's fine. And what happens is this is connected to 30 when this thing is energized, right? And 30 is the yellow wire. And I'll try to be somewhat explain this to you a little better. But basically, when 87 connects to 30, there's power, okay? And then you have what's left is 87A, which is orange. This is normally closed, okay? And this connects to 30 when there's no power to it, okay? Then, when there's power to it, disconnects, and brown goes over and connects. So you see how it's a switch? It's just a switch. And again, these are micro relays or mini relays. If you can see, I don't know, I got pretty big hands, but that's my thumb. So compare my thumb to the headlight. Just the thumb part, like almost my nail. It's not hard to fit in there, okay? I mean, I have one here. You just tuck it in. Now, I will tell you, because I have that Century key from the company, I actually do a video on that too. You know, you have to zip tie some of this stuff back here and get a little organized. But there is, I mean, half my hand is back in there, so there's plenty of room for this stuff. So let's get to it. So what I'm going to do is connect the coils. 85 is black, 86 is red, and I'm going to connect those directly to the Indian side of the park lights, or the turn signals, okay? So just kind of, you know, boom, boom. Now I'm going to solder this, and then I'll be back. You can use butt connectors, but I do not. I solder and heat shrink everything. If you've ever seen any of my other videos, so I also bring wires up and cover them in what they call Tech Flex. It's the stuff that actually Indian uses to protect their wires. You can buy that stuff on Amazon or eBay or whatever, but it's just extra protection for the wires. So I'm going to solder those on, and then I'll get back to you, okay? Alright, so we got the coils, 85 and 86, going directly to or in to the Indian turn signal wires, okay? So that's going to be our switch, that's going to be our coil, that's what's going to provide ground and 12 volts to the relay whenever the turn signal is switched on to turn, okay? So then the next two wires we're going to hook up is going to be 87, which is your brown wire, and 87A, which is your orange wire. Okay, now this is really simple because these two connect directly to the turn signal wires, or the actual, the turn signal wires themselves. So 87A is going to go directly to the park light wire, which is our gray with a white tracer, and 87 is going to go to our turn signal wire, which is the red wire on here, right? So 87A is going to go to your orange, and your actual 12 volt turn signal lead is going to go to your brown. Right? So as I was thinking as I'm doing this video, you know, not everybody's turn signals are going to be the same, but as far as aftermarket goes, I did see, I believe Custom Dynamics has a Pro Beam, and I think they already reverse it inside the light, so the 3 wires hook directly up, and this, instead of the running light going to you know, a 12 volt signal, it goes to a ground. So they're different. I don't want to confuse you, but this is what I'm doing for the Kellermanns, okay? And any I can see it working for any 3-wire turn signal that uses a positive for the running lights. So again, we're going to go white gray to park light or running light to 87A, and then we're going to go to the turn signal positive activation to 87 brown wire, right? And then if you're thinking, they give you a schematic with these relays, so it tells you what the numbers are. Okay, so I'll be right back to do that one. Almost there. All right, so we got 87 going to the positive park light wire or turn signal wire, and we have 87A going to the positive park light wire. Now, what's left? Well, what's left is you have the ground and you have an ignition or 12 volt wire, which is your yellow wire. The yellow wire is the only wire left in the relay. So that needs to see voltage all the time, no matter what. So remember what I told you. You need a ground and a 12 volts. Well, inside the Scout 60 headlight, there is a constant ground and there is a constant 12 volts. So I have this little pigtail coming off. Actually, there's 3 wires, 3 12 volts, one for each turn signal, and then one for the Indian running light and the headlight. And that Indian headlight will just plug right into there. The one single wire coming off. Now this is the Indian LED headlight, not the halogen, okay? Just want to make that clear. And then off the grounds, you have 2 wires. One of them going to each ground of the turn signal. So I'm going to solder these up, clean them up and solder them. I only had this one on for testing. And then I'll be back. That's it for the wiring, and then we'll clean it up. So let's go ahead and get that finished. All right, so there we have the right side. It's all done. Here's your relay. You see it's all shrink wrapped. Just need to, what I'll do is use Tessa tape. I don't know if you guys know what Tessa is, but it's a lot of tape the Germans use in the cars. A lot of American companies are using it now. It's a cloth tape. It doesn't make a lot of noise, and it's, I mean, I'll tape it with 3M first. But there's your relay. There's your right side running light. Let's hit the turn signal. Perfect. Turn it off. Boom. And then your left. Let's see if I can pan this way. Sorry, a little jittery. Boom. So really not that hard. Just a matter of taking your time. Let's go pan that way. There we go. Try to get them both in. Yeah. So not too bad. Again, I'll give you a finished look here once I get this all tied in and up, and get the relays tucked in the back there, and we should be good to go. So it is possible to do this. I like the all black look better. I mean, that's just me. And I like having running lights. I think Indian missed the mark on that one, personal opinion, but you know, and I think they're kind of obnoxious. Hold on a second, let me show you. I mean, some people might like it, but that's enormous, sorry. And then here's that rubber. I mean, it's rubber, you know, it's rubber with a metal screw. But, you know, I'll keep them in case I ever get rid of it and get a different bike. But yeah, I kind of prefer the smaller ones, and I like the running lights. But let's see here. Let's go to hazards. Pretty trick, man. So whoever that guy was that put that diagram on. Way to go, man. Alright, so I'll be back once everything's back together. Okay, so this will be the end of it. Let's go and see what everything looks like. Here we go. Running lights still on. I mean, they're different colors, LED, I guess. That's what it kind of looks like to me, but, you know, I think they're pretty nice. The part number, let me find out for you guys. Oh, I got papers everywhere.
I'm actually kind of excited.
I'm filming right now. Thanks. Hey, that's all right, guys. That's my wife. She's excited. I'll be right back.